Greetings, greetings, greetings. Hello, everyone. Greetings. How's everyone doing today? I am so super excited about today's show. Well, actually, I'm always excited about our Transcending Horizons broadcast. I am always excited. But today I am super excited, okay? And so I am Dr. Tylisha Johnson. I am the host of Transcending Horizons broadcast, which is a show that is sponsored by Transcending Horizons Enterprises, of which I am the CEO and chief strategist. Transcending Horizons Enterprises develops and delivers customized winning strategies to help you optimize your potential and soar beyond the limits in business and life. And part of our platform is this broadcast show where I invite phenomenal guests to share their message, to share their expertise in giving you strategies, giving you things that you can apply to both your business and life that will help you to do the same thing, which is what? Optimize your potential and soar beyond the limits in both business and life. And so we have a phenomenal guest here, and she is actually on. So I am going to go ahead and bring her in without further ado. Thank you all so much for joining me on today. Thank you so much for tuning in, no matter what platform that you are on. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yay! We have success.
Yes, we do. Always, always, always success.
Yes. Good success. Great success, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. For those who don't know what she's talking about, we tried to connect at, I think it was about 3:30, and my computer wasn't cooperating. I have some settings obviously blocked or something. And so we were going back and forth trying to figure this out. And I said, did some research and let's try the cell phone. Let's see if that works. So that's what she's talking about. We want to be totally transparent and tell you we have been in complete chaos for the last hour and a half.
Yes. And I thank you so very much for being patient. A woman whose time is definitely at great expense. And so I thank you so much for working through that with me
Well,
in efforts to
uh,
share with our audience here. And so thank you so very much.
absolutely. Well, you know what that's about, right? You have to know what your brand is, and your brand. My brand is about creating results. So you can't stop until you get there. So, so there you have
Absolutely.
it. True to who
Absolutely.
I say I am.
Wonderful. And you know what? That's really something. And I want to say that I am certainly honored. People don't know that we are like homegirls, first of all. So we are making history here. And
Absolutely.
so with this, we are both from Delaware. All right.
Hmm.
The first state. We can be very braggadocious at times. We may be the small wonder. Okay. And we tell our own jokes, right? Like Delaware.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So, yes, we are both from Delaware. And I've known S.Renee for many, many years, probably about maybe 20 or close to it.
At
Yes.
least, but if there's more, please don't tell. Don't tell. Stop there.
Okay, I will stop there. And so we are so excited to really come together to actually show you what it is to collaborate and to help one another. Because listen, and since we are being transparent, I can tell you that I was so nervous. It took me so long. I have wanted to actually invite her on like last year during my first season of Transcending Horizons broadcast. And I just didn't have the confidence. I was like, well, she could say yes or no. But listen, after someone has been on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and CNN, there's nowhere else to go but the big screen. And so this really speaks to your humility. And so I just want to say I am honored, and I want to say thank you, for really connecting and doing this show with me, and to help give my audience what you have, and to not count it robbery to do this. We don't have the fancy cameras, the lights, camera, action yet.
Well, here's the truth of it all, is that we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately, I didn't come out of the womb on any of those shows, and I didn't come out of the womb having written books. I didn't come out of the womb working with some of the biggest names in the business. I came out of the womb just like everyone else. And to this day, I still have my own doubts and fears and concerns and, moments where I wonder. And so, and we all have them. And so it's all good. It's all good. And I think when you operate from that place and you know that about yourself, it's so
Yes.
easy to support someone else. So
Yes.
I'm thankful to be here.
Oh, thank you so very much. I'm honored to host you. So listen, I want to jump right in.
Yeah.
Please just briefly, I think that they probably have a little bit of a gist of who you are. So
Yep.
we can just briefly give them a little snippet more, and then let us know what we're talking about today. And let's get started with your first point.
Okay, so you're going to see me moving, and I'm moving for no reason other than I thought I'd be using my computer, but I have to use my phone, and I've been on my phone all day, so I have to hook it up. So let me get a battery. Okay, there we go. All right,
It's
so I
okay.
might have to.
This is real life,
This is.
We,
Let me see if I can get a good angle here. Okay, so to tell you a little bit about myself, so as I mentioned, I'm very much like everyone else, from a small town, very small population. My father was a migrant worker who traveled from place to place, dropped out of high school. My mother did the same. Eventually, my mother went back to school. So I don't come from this grandiose, highly educated family. I come from a family that loved God. And as a result of loving God, our lives have elevated. And I'm very grateful for that. CD student in school.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Truth. That is the truth. And not only a CD student, I failed an English class in college.
Wow.
So, and was fired from a job for not knowing how to write. So there you have it, or allegedly not knowing how to write. So there you have it. There is really no separation between me and anyone else, because I have your story and you have mine. Yeah. And I remember when I went to go speak in South Africa, there was a statement. They said, I am you and you are me. And that's what I believe. You are me and I am you. And as a result of being a support to one another, I have had the opportunity to work in with over 100 organizations across 9 different industries since I launched my business in 2005. Have written 6 books, and no, I can't believe I just said that, but I started in 2005. Wrote my first book, There Is More Inside, Personal Essentials to Living a Power Pack Life. My second book in 2011, so about 6 years later, I wrote The Bridge to Your Brand, Likability, Marketability, Credibility. And then in 2014, I signed a book deal with Wiley. But before that, I released a book called Our Heart's Wonder, Prayers to Heal Your Heart and Calm Your Soul. And if you don't believe that we're the same, my sister had an aneurysm rupture in her brain. And like every other family that may have some type of crises, be it health or job or, you lose something, whatever it is. And every day I would write prayers and text them out to my family. And she walked out of the hospital 22 days later. I used those prayers. My mother actually asked me to put those prayers in a book, and I did. Our Heart's Wonder, Prayer to Heal Your Heart and Calm Your Soul. Then during that time, I also signed the book deal and co-wrote Self-Esteem for Dummies, was the lead on that project. And then I had another book deal with Callisto Media, and I wrote 5 Steps to Assertiveness, How to Communicate with Confidence and Get What You Want. And then I got this contract, and you may be able to relate to this. I'm going to go back to the Wiley piece I'll wait, but I want to share you something about the Wiley piece. Then I was actually hired for a project, and they wanted to use the Bridge to Your Brand, likability, marketability, credibility. But I had advanced so much in my career that I had so much information on branding and executive presence and so many great stories until I just released Harness the Power of Personal Branding and Executive Presence, my 6th book. Real excited about that. It's doing extremely well. 404 copies have been sold as of this morning, another 5 today. So real excited about what that means because it hasn't released yet. I'm the only one on the planet that has copies that are sellable. So I'm selling them at half price. So that's my story.
Wow.
Of an incredible journey of being interviewed by the media, as you mentioned, sharing the stage with some of America's top leaders, Jack Canfield, Les Brown, CEOs of billion-dollar companies, just trembling, shaking in my shoes, but win anyway.
Yes.
So I
rocked it when you were there.
Well, I did the best I could. Whatever that is, absolutely. There's
I've seen you in action.
Well, thank you.
I've seen you in action.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So listen, that is so phenomenal, and thank you so much again for sharing. One thing I think that my audience really can glean already is that they need to stay tuned and that they need to hear what you have to say, because you have most certainly fortified your credibility here with what you have told us. So there is no question in anyone's mind that you are qualified to speak, and what you say is truth, and what you say will transform their lives, and what you say will shift their minds, right?
Oh, I hope to do some
and
shifting.
Their brands. And so I thank you so very much again. So please, let's get started.
Yep.
With your first point.
What my first point? Okay, so I'm just gonna talk. Okay, that's dangerous. So I want you to know that. That's dangerous to just start talking. So I'm gonna share with you my first story. So it's 2014, and I had already written two books, had already written and released 2 books, had also written all these prayers, had shared the stage with the major folks. And Wiley calls, and Wiley, actually, it was the co-author that called me first and asked me if I was interested. She found me on Steve Harrison's platform, I was one of 6 national speakers to launch the Speaking for Money program. And she was looking for a co-author in Self-Esteem. So she called and she told me about the project, and I began to talk to the agent and all that. Now, I don't know about you, but God shows up, but we don't always show up the way that we need to, right? Like there's an opportunity that's presented to us, and all of a sudden we punk out.
Wow.
Like literally, I almost punked out. I was like,
wow.
But here's the thing. I didn't say, I feel intimidated. I didn't say, I really question whether or not I can do this. What I said is, well, I don't know if I really have time to do this, right? So we go
Wow.
into this thing of, I don't have enough time to do this, or, I have so much on my plate, or this is going to take away from this if I do that, or like we have all these excuses to legitimize our doubt. So I continue to legitimize my own doubt. And I got people to go along with me, right? I would ask people that I knew that knew nothing about writing or about Wiley. And I would say, I really shouldn't do this, should I? Have you been there? Right?
Wow. Yes.
And so I kept going back and forth for weeks. Like I had them on hold for weeks. Wiley, can you believe that?
Wow.
And then I went to my father and I asked him, and he said, remember, my father is a high school dropout who built a business, but he's not like some big executive, right? So I went to him and I asked him his opinion. He goes, well, I know nothing about the business, baby, but I know if you take it on, you can do
it. That's what you needed, right?
That's what I needed.
Yes. So that was a key. Thank you so much for sharing that, because, looking at the topic for which we were discussing for today, which is really how to break through those mental barriers to elevate your life in your career. And one thing with the story that you just told, you had a mental barrier called doubt, and we know that doubt is really the fruit, but there's a root there, right? So the root of doubt is more than likely the big bad monster called fear, right? And
Absolutely.
So rooted in fear. And so giving us that escape route that we try to take, those excuses, right? that we try to take to get out of doing and walking in our true purpose, so that we are able to manifest and really help those people that are around us, because we can only be effective in that which we were born to do. And so with that key, you went to your father and he said something very unexpected, right? Go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he didn't say do it or not do it, but just the fact that somebody says, well, and then, I continued and I talked to Steve about it, and he confirmed what I already knew. If you do it, it's going to elevate you, right? It's going to give you credibility, additional credibility.
Yes.
So, but this is the thing. This is how God works. So you take one step in the right direction. So I said, okay, I'll do it. They said, okay, well, pump your brakes. Before we move forward, we need you to write a chapter. Oh! So went to pen and paper, went to the computer, started typing, did a I don't know if it's a half chapter, full chapter, can't remember what it was, but nevertheless, submitted it to the editorial board. The agent came back and said, they accepted your chapter. And she said, never since I've been an agent in 20 some years has a chapter ever been accepted on the first try. I
Wow.
exhaled. And here's the lesson for me and for everyone else is that when you're approached about doing something, they have already checked you out. So it shouldn't
Absolutely.
be a surprise to you when someone knocks at your door and calls on you. You don't have to
Mhm.
doubt because you're already qualified. It's like,
Yes.
it's what I call pre-qualified, right? So you know how
Yes.
you get those bank statement, those bank invitations in the mail,
Hmm.
hey, I have $50,000 for you, right?
Yes.
And you're like, well, why are you giving that to me? Like, I
Hmm.
don't need 50,000, or am I qualified for 50,000? They wouldn't be sending it to you if they haven't already checked you out.
Hmm.
So just remember that one piece is that you've already been checked out, right? Before somebody calls. Number two, this is very, very critically important because we all talk about fear and we all acknowledge that things are from fear, but
Hmm.
everybody's reason for fear is different. So
Yes.
what's at the core is different, and you have to identify what's at your core that's causing
Yes.
you to be fearful. For me, I had been fired from a job for not being able to write, and I didn't want to put myself out there. If you're
Hmm.
self-published, there's no judgment, right?
Hmm.
You just put it out there. People
Right.
either write it or they don't. You work with a team of people, and you just don't necessarily, for me, I just didn't necessarily want to put myself under the microscope. But when I did,
Hmm.
God held me up, and I'm thankful.
Yes, 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 absolutely. I thank you for that key because it really helps us to take a deeper look, right? A deeper self-examination of what is that that's really at the root of that fear. And so what is it that happened in our past and what do we have to face? Because that's the only way we can ever overcome it is we have to first acknowledge it. We have to face it. We have to deal with all of the pain, anything that we have suffered as a result. We have to walk through that trauma. And because while somebody might say, well, oh, well, big deal. You knew you could write. I mean, you got fired. I mean, forget that person. No, that actually there were a lot of things that were involved that went on, I'm sure, on the inside of you that
Mm-hmm.
would have shifted your mind to to believe otherwise, right? And so we can't look at someone's experience and think that well, that's not that big of a deal, but no, it really was a big deal. Here you have someone who's saying these things to you, someone that is has a higher status than you, right? So their words at the time carried more weight, and so we tend to believe that. It's almost like with your mother and your father, if they were to tell you things, negative things, you would believe them as a child because they are superior to you and you just believe whatever it is that they're saying. But those words and everything have power that shifts our minds. And so in the first chapter of your book, you talked about mindset shift. Could you share with us really a key nugget from that particular chapter?
Wow. So what she's referring to is my latest book, Harness the Power of Personal Branding and Executive Presence. And
Hmm.
although it may not seem, you may wonder, well, why is she talking about mindset? Well, I literally dedicated 2 chapters to mindset. I
Hmm.
have coached hundreds of business owners, people, Ivy League graduates, MIT, Harvard, Princeton, as well as people who are not Ivy League. And what I've discovered is it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. It's how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive ourselves in the world, how we see people, how we perceive them, and how we perceive how we can navigate this world. Right? So I'm going to give you an example. I hope you don't mind me using this example. This is kind of, this just comes up, and I thought about this. So when we were struggling to figure out this Facebook thing, Dr. Johnson came back and she said, "Oh, I was praying." And I said, "Oh, I was researching for answers."
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Two people, two different styles, two women of faith. We had two solutions to the problem. Yes. What I said was, "God, this is not of you. It is meant for us to do this. Now lead me to the answer." Period. Yes. I'm not going to plead. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to ask. I'm going to give you back your word to me about my capacity to do this because you work within me.
Yes.
That's a mindset shift. Here's why. For me, for years, I would pray and beg and plead God for things. And it wasn't until I understood that God lived within me and that I could do all things through him because he was inside of me. That's when I stopped asking and started declaring.
Yes.
And there's a difference in asking and declaring. I began to declare over my life that I would be able to do certain things through him. Right?
Yes.
So as you, and this is not a reflection of Dr. Johnson because she still got what she wanted, right? We all can get what we want based on what we believe. But for me, and one of the things I really want people to get and walk away with, if nothing else, is that you have to do the work. Basically, and what do I mean by that? By faith, you have to take the step.
Yes.
By faith, you have to put yourself out there. So let me share with you this. By no means am I saying that God doesn't deliver and by his spirit things don't happen. Here's why. Speaking on Steve Harrison's platform didn't come because I knocked at his door. Getting the book deal for Wiley wasn't because I knocked on their door. Getting the second book deal wasn't because I knocked on their door. It was because I was doing my work.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And because I was doing my work, God was positioning me, right? To be able to go to the next level. So, but what happens to many of us, we get stuck in the fasting and the prayer and that piece. And we believe that somehow God's gonna, split the Red Sea. Well, Moses had to walk to the sea before it was split.
Yes. And he had to extend his rod. Okay.
And he had to extend his rod. So
absolutely.
So remember that you have to take the initiative, in your thinking and in your belief and in your faith. Don't be like the man by the pool of Bethesda that sat there for years waiting for the angels to come trouble the water when Jesus made it clear, you don't have to worry about troubling the water. You're already healed. Pick up your bed and walk. Right. Go and write the book. Go and launch the business. Go and ask for the promotion. It has been proven that women are less likely to reach for a job that they believe is beyond them than a male. Now, I'm not going to get into male bashing because that's not what I do. I serve everyone. I'm just talking about how we as women have a tendency to step back instead of stepping up.
Yes. Yeah.
And once you step up, you will be amazed as to what God will do through you, for you, and with you.
Yes, absolutely. And further amazement is what will happen to the
Yes.
lives of others as a result of you stepping up, because you have impacted so many lives. You have inspired just by just people watching you. You may not ever hear someone say, as Renee, I'm inspired by your story. You may not, that person may never come to you, they may never send you a message or anything, but listen, you are blazing the trail for this generation. You are making the impact for this generation. In why? Because you're walking in your purpose, and because you're walking in your purpose in unique, the way God has uniquely designed you to do so, because you are executing, right? Because that's the only way that we are going to lay hold of the promised land, right? And to possess the promises is we have to be able to walk into what is already ours, right? So that was one thing, is that they had to actually go into the possess the land that was already theirs. That's the children of Israel. And
Yeah.
so we have to do the same thing. And so we have to execute. We cannot, and we already know that faith without works is dead. So we have to have that understanding that we have to move. And I think that there are some things that people have not moved on because, like you said, that mental, that mindset. And one thing that affects our perception really is our perspective, the angle in which we are looking at it from. And a lot of times we are looking at it from the lower level, right? What I can do, or what it is that I haven't been able to do. Or let's look at the perspective of what is it that you can do, and what is it that you do well, right? Not just well, but excellent. And really tap into that. And that is the gift that, or gifts that we were all born with, is really tapping into that power. And so
Yeah.
with these mental barriers,
Mhm.
and being able to break through them, do you have another example or anything else that you want to share with us, another barrier that you have found, and give us the key of how to overcome it, and then they'll just have to get your books and follow you and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
So here's something that often in workshops that I share, and I also share in my book, obviously, and that is why we have doubt and uncertainty.
Mhm.
Like, really, what's at the core of it? I don't care who you are, this is what's at the core of your doubt and uncertainty. And that is your desire to be compliant with the expectation of others.
Mm.
Your desire to be
Wow.
compliant with the expectations of others. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you weren't expecting, or if you weren't depending on meeting someone else's expectation, you wouldn't feel
Mhm.
uncertainty.
Wow.
You
Wow.
wouldn't.
That's so
Because,
good. That's revelatory. It really is. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So when you get that the only reason why you feel doubt is because you want to meet somebody else's expectation, you're thinking for them.
Wow.
You're thinking, well, what do they want? How do they want it? How should I do it? If I don't do it that way, how am I going to be perceived? Stop all that and you get rid of uncertainty. It's that simple.
Wow. That's amazing, because I think that a lot of times we do want to please others, and we do want to uh get the approval, or the go ahead, the nod, or the celebration, or you did a great job, and you're looking outside of yourself, when really, if focusing on what we have been inspired to do within our hearts, within our spirit, within our minds, that is God given, and focusing on his approval. And this is another thing that I really, really appreciate about you. You have, no matter what platform you have been on, you have always consistently given God the glory. You have consistently pointed to our Creator, our Father. And so I want to applaud you on that, because you have stayed rooted, and it's because you stayed rooted and grounded in your faith and in God that He has continued to elevate you. He's continued to bring you before great men and women. See, I mean, and when we talk about this, when we talk about our faith, sometimes it may make people feel like, well, they have, this grandiose God. I want to know him. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
because everybody thinks, just because I'm not out, maybe going and knocking on doors and doing street evangelism, that I'm not evangelizing.
Mhm.
S.Renee has done that. Okay. And she is doing that by living out her purpose. She is that living epistle. She's that living letter that is written. And so just because her evangelism and her light is not in their typical box of religiosity, and neither is mine, right? The coach
Yeah.
over here, the business strategist over here, when we really open up the gifts and share our gifts with the world, we are letting God's light shine. And that's one thing that I love, is that you are living clearly to please God, not to please man, not to bring man glory, but to give God glory. And so, because I'm telling you, that video that you shared with us, that you said was like 10 years old, was
Oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
it?
yeah.
That was amazing. And you were, I mean, she was preaching, y'all. She I'm just gonna say it. She started preaching. I'm just gonna say it. I know that wasn't her intention, but the preacher did come out in the video.
Well, I will tell you something that's funny. One time I had a speaking engagement at Bank of America,
Uh-huh.
and they came up to me and they said, "Are you a preacher?" No, I'm not a preacher. I just get so passionate about what I'm saying. And I did a presentation for a group of social workers, and they asked the same question. They said, you kind of sound like a preacher, but that's people's perception of a preacher, right? So
Right,
if
right.
you're passionate, if you talk really rapid, that makes you a preacher, right?
Hmm.
So but I can appreciate, because especially in that video, I did use scripture to back up what I was saying, etc. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Absolutely. And it was good.
thank
I'm
you.
gonna share it out again. It was good.
Thank
And
you.
so, thank you so very much, really, for staying true, and being that example, that shining example of what it is to live our life full out, and to be unapologetically who you are, and authentically who you are, and walk into any building, and in on any stage, and deliver what it is that God has given you to speak to that audience. I truly believe that you do, that you do glorify God in all that you do. I have seen that. I've witnessed that as I followed you over the years, and
Oh, thank
I
you.
want to just encourage you to continue blazing the trail, and because that's what it is. You're blazing the trail, and you've shown what it means to overcome. Because somebody could have said, you know what, I'm not gonna write.
Yeah.
Someone else, would have said, maybe I'm just not a, a good writer. And then you would have never pushed out and written the books that you wrote. But, really it was, we know that it was just discouragement to come your way to try and discourage you from doing what you were born to do. And
Yeah.
so, thank you so very much. Do you want to leave us with one last key before you tell us how, what all the workshops, everything that you have coming up, and about your book and how the people can reach you? If you want to leave our viewers and listeners with one last key, please do that at this time, and then tell us how we can reach you.
Yeah, so great. Thank you. One, for all those wonderful compliments. I really appreciate them. What I want to leave with the audience is this. With all that, I receive it and I'm thankful, but know that I'm still overcoming. Know
Absolutely.
that I still have moments of struggle.
Mhm.
Know that I still have moments of doubt, of fear, of concern, of worry.
Mhm.
The difference in who I was versus who I am today is that I've developed some skill sets that help me to overcome the doubt. I've sharpened my faith, and I know I see it coming. And when it comes, I know how to answer it.
Mhm.
So this journey that we're on, we never overcome. We are
Mhm.
always managing ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, and our relationship with others.
Mhm.
That's why I've written 6 books, because they give you the tools that you need to develop in order to break through and become aware of who you are, what you have, why you have it, and what you can do because of it. So
Mhm.
I want to be really clear on that piece. I think it's incredibly important, because when we, and I'm sorry for continuously moving the phone, my battery is going
No,
down. I thought
you're
I was going to be on the
okay.
computer. You know the story.
Yes.
But so I just think it's important that when you see me, understand that she is a evolving soul that
Mhm.
has gained some understanding and wisdom around how God works and how I can flow with him, and
Mhm.
and to teach other people to do the same. But I'm still on that journey, just like you, maybe in a different dimension, but
Mhm.
nevertheless still on that journey. What am I working on? Number one, I have a big gig coming up. Next week I'll be in Las Vegas. I am presenting in front of thousands of people. Probably the biggest gig that I've had. 18,000 people, I
Wow.
think, are registered already.
Wow.
And I'm going to do a 15-hour presentation with them, and then a mega session. They have made me one of the backbone speakers of their conference, which is absolutely huge. But
Wow.
then they came back and said, would you be willing to be the face of the event and do some of our social media plugs and all of that? And I agreed to do that. Great opportunity. Very thankful to
Amazing.
Sherm, Kathy Harris, and a lot of other people, Janine, a lot of other people that I don't need to mention here. You don't even know who they are, right?
Right.
But
Somebody will though.
right. So very, very thankful for that opportunity. Still working to, grabbing my books here. This is the book that I've been promoting. Like I said, 401 copies, I think, have been sold already. It releases July 1st. I'm the only one who has copies. However, I've been sending them out already. So there are at least 401 people that will have their copies in hand. I think it might be 403 now, somewhere around there. Nevertheless, working on that. Working on another, I have several online programs. One, self-esteem and attitude development. That's basically a spiritual cleanse. you go through the program, and literally when you come out, you come into a different awareness of who you are.
Wow.
And it's definitely a shifter. It's really where I started, which was in the church. It has a lot of, it's like 5 minutes and then you do the workbook, 5 minute video and then you do the workbook. And when you're done, your whole perspective has shifted and changed. That's where I started. Then I have a program, Unbottle Your Business Brand, online as well. And I'm working on one that supplements this book, Harness the Power of Personal Branding and Executive Presence. That's what I'm working on. But what's most important is that you tell me what I should be working on, because I believe that your audience should dictate to you what's important to them that will help them to elevate their life and career. And so that's what I work on. I work on what you want. That's how come this book sold, because for years, real quick tip, for years I'd write a book and it'd sell a little bit of copies, and before it launched I didn't sell any. Now I've learned, when the market demands, you get working.
Yes.
so
Yes.
that's where I am. So be on the lookout, join my mailing list, check out my blog. S.Renee.com is where I can be found.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for that. Most certainly, this has been a power-packed interview. And again, I want to thank you for sharing with my audience. This video will be on other platforms as well. So we will be sharing it out on YouTube as well, and getting the audio on to my upcoming blog talk radio as well. And guess what? Miss S.Renee has agreed to also be on Flight Strategies That Make Sense. So she has already given you some tips that are very profitable for your business. But on there, she will give you a couple of more tips that will help you to really package your power for profitability, because that's what we want to make sure that we do. And so I want to thank you, all of you, for tuning in, no matter what platform that you are watching this on. We want to thank our Facebook Live viewers for tuning in. And we want to ask you to share this out, whether you see this on YouTube or wherever you are able to hear or view this. Please share this out, and you will always be able to get in touch with S.Renee Smith Larry at srenee.com. And so you will be able to reach me, Dr. Tylisha Johnson, at Transcending Horizons, ENT.com. Again, Transcending Horizons, ENT.com. And you know what we say, every day is a great day to transcend horizons and to soar beyond the limits in business and life. Come soar with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, S.Renee.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.